Good morning. Hope you're all well. The Lord be with you. I'm going to start today off, as I start off many of my worships, with a question. What is a saint? Well, I wonder what answers you would come up with. Some children were asked what a saint was, and these are their answers. So a saint is someone who is holy, someone who has lots of courage. A saint is someone who is kind. A saint is an incredible person. That's a good one, isn't it? A saint is important and has done special things. Yes. A saint is proud of their country. So why am I talking to you about saints? Well, this month started off with two important saints for me. Monday, the 1st of March, was St. David's Day. And why might St. David's Day be important for me? Well, it's because I'm Welsh. And St. David is the patron saint of Wales. Of course, Tuesday was St. Chad's Day. And until last Sunday, I was the vicar at St. Chad's. It's still a beautiful church. There's another date marked as well, the 17th of March, but I'll come back to that later. Back to St. David. March the 1st is an important day in Wales. In most primary schools, the children dress in Welsh costume. These days, the boys often wear Welsh rugby shirts. Now, don't laugh, but this is me and my friend Pauline. I'm the one on the right. Pauline is the one without the teeth. She'll kill me for this. But this is us dressed up, ready to go to school on St. David's Day. I think we were about 6. So, who was St. David? St. David was born in Wales. He was born to a wealthy family and was lived in and around the place that is now named after him in southwest Wales, called St. David's. He lived in the 6th century and he was a leading figure in the Welsh church. He formed a community of monks where they lived a very, very simple life. We are told he was a great preacher. And one of the most famous stories about St. David was that he was speaking at a place now called Llandewi Brefi in Ceredigion. And the people at the back of the crowd that had gathered couldn't hear him. And so the earth beneath his feet is supposed to have risen up and created a hill so his words could be heard and everyone could see. And as he was speaking, a dove descended out of heaven and rested on his shoulder. St. David is a phrase that a lot of people in Wales still use, but before I tell you what it is, can you work out what's on the slide? A jar of money. Pennies. I think there's 150 pence I can see, but mainly 20s and 5s and 10s. Individually, you can't do a lot with a penny or even 5p, But a lady in the village once gave me 6 jars. They were a little bit bigger than this, actually. She'd been putting her loose change in these jars for a couple of years. Apparently every Friday she would empty her purse of the change in it and put it in a jar. And over the weeks, the money built up. Some weeks it was just a couple of pence. Other weeks there was more. When I took the money to the bank, when I took the jars that she gave me to the bank, there was over £80 in them. And that was given to us to use to repair the church roof, which was so kind of her. Just little bits of money that added up over time. One of the things that St. David said when he was dying was, "Be joyful, keep the faith, do the little things you have seen me do." And do the little things is something that has stuck with a lot of Welsh people. My grandmother used to say it a lot to me. Don't forget, Elaine, do the little things. Little acts of kindness all add up. A smile, a nod, and sometimes just an hello can make someone very happy if nobody has spoken to them that day. So do the little things. That's a good phrase to remember, isn't it? And so on to St. Chad. St. Chad was born in the northeast of England, somewhere else that I'm very, very fond of. And he was educated on the island of Lindisfarne. It's also known as Holy Island, and I think it's one of my favourite places. Now, you can only get to Holy Island when the tide is out. There is a causeway which you drive across, and you have to be very careful, and you have to check the times of the tides, because if you don't, this can happen. There's one small part of the causeway that's a bit higher that often doesn't get totally covered with water. It does at high tide. And even then, if you notice, you can see on the slide, can you see just to the right of the road, there is a ladder, and you can go and you can climb into there and you can call for help. And the lifeguards will come and save you. They won't come and save your car. Quite often your car is swept away. But you shouldn't try and be clever and cross when the tide's coming in, because it comes in very, very quickly. Now, this is a friend of mine, Maria Makepeace. And Maria is an artist. And before I came to St. Chad's, well, when she found out I was coming to St. Chad's, she did me a series of paintings about the life of St. Chad, which I still have, and they're very special to me. This is the first painting. St. Chad was one of 4 sons, 4 brothers, and they all were educated, and you can see the island of Lindisfarne there in the centre of the painting. And around the island, I know some of you have done in the past some Celtic knotwork and looked at Celtic patterns. Well, this was at the time when the Celtic Church was very strong in Northumberland and in Lindisfarne, and so Maria showed that by painting some really intricate Celtic knotwork. Chad loved the peace and quiet of Holy Island, but he was asked by the Archbishop of Canterbury to be Bishop of York. And here he is, looking quite sad, I think, not really wanting to go. And the words say, "Although unworthy, I accept it only under obedience. In other words, I've got to obey you, but I don't really want to do it. He was Archbishop of York for a while, but then St. Wilfrid came back he'd been in Rome, and he came back and he took over being Archbishop in York, and Chad was so pleased. And he came and he lived with his brother, who had set up a monastery in the middle of the North Yorkshire moors in a place called Lastingham. And you can still visit where St. Chad and St. Ced, his brother, worshipped. It's underneath a church called St. Mary's, still in Lastingham, and you can visit there even today. However, he wasn't. This is Maria's paintings of Chad in Lastingham, and you can see here the what it looks like probably then and what it still looks like today. You have to go underground to get to it these days. But he wasn't to stay in Lastingham long, because the then Archbishop of Canterbury had other ideas, and Chad was called and asked to become Bishop of the Mercians, with a cathedral in Lichfield. And this is the picture that Maria painted of St. Chad as a bishop in Lichfield. Bishop of the Mercians. Now, Mercia was a very large area. It's the area on the map of Britain that you can see in front of you that's in green. Now, so it goes from Wales in the west, right the way across the country, right up to Norwich and right up to the North Sea, and took almost up as far as York, not quite as far as York, and almost down as far as London. It was a huge area, and Chad was very keen to let the people of Mercia know about Jesus. And the Archbishop of Canterbury at the time kept giving Chad a horse to make it easier for him to get around such a large area. But Chad kept selling the horses and giving the money to the poor, doing the little things again. Now, this is the stained glass window in St. Chad's Church, and in it, St. Theodore, the Archbishop of Canterbury, is telling Chad that he must not sell this horse, but he must use it to travel throughout Mercia. And we're told that Theodore, because Chad, we are told, wasn't very big, and we are told that Theodore picked him up and plonked him on top of the horse and said, "You don't sell this one." And that's what this window shows. The three spires in the background are of Lichfield Cathedral. The last painting that Maria did for me of St. Chad is him, and he is asleep, and we are told that angels came and carried him away into heaven when he died. And the words say, summoned by angels. This is my favourite description of a saint. A saint is a person who lets the light shine through. We can all be saints by doing small acts of kindness. We can let the light shine through us by doing things for others. Okay, so back to the calendar. There's the question mark on the 17th of March. Now it's another important saint's day. Do you know which saint? I'm not going to tell you. I'm coming into school on the 18th of March. Perhaps you can find out and you can let me know on that day when I come in to see you. Or if not, you can let your teacher know if you can find out what Saint's Day is on the 17th of March. Perhaps you already know. Oh, back to St. Chad's. Right. Here we go. I'd like to finish with a prayer. Dear God, help us to do the little things in life and to know that you turn our small acts of love and kindness into acts that can change the world. Help the light shine through us. Amen. Go in peace. I will speak to you all again soon. God bless.